Hello everybody, and welcome to the new UK radio show. My name is Kevin Smith, and I have some things to share with you. Well, I simply couldn't resist adding a little further information about what I've mentioned now on 2 radio shows back to back. Some might say I'm getting a little fixated on this particular topic, and that my focus might conceivably be then more so on an aspect of knowledge or an insight, rather than on my awareness and recognition of the all is via my awareness. It was on the matter of protection, or lack thereof. Should one walk away from the new presentation and deny themselves the golden opportunity provided by the real universal guides to vacate the psych realm creational matrix of unparalleled nonsense and mayhem behind? I was going to leave it be, but maintaining my contention that returning to the personal little self and restricted little life held so dear by many is definitely an invitation to be assailed by the dark forces. But then I had a dream, a real side experience, and a very vivid one at that. The degree of vividness in a dream must be proportionate to the extent by which we must pay attention to it or heed its message. In the real side dream arena, the guides meticulously create sets and scenes for the purposes of becoming more aware, to see the restrictions that bind us, the attachments we cling to, and the taplines, snares, and pitfalls we would do well to be aware of. A simple message or teeny gem of information can be contained within a dream, and it is our objective then to unearth and recognize what it is within the contents of a dream that demands our attention, perceiving beyond the literal self and unveiling the nugget of wisdom and sharings the guides have graciously provided. The guides have a tendency to blow a dream out of all proportions, to over-exaggerate it, so something that seems outrageously engaging or captivatingly engrossing in its magnitude, brilliance, and design may all be for the purpose of something very simple. Why do they do this? My personal self loves the adventures and the awe-inspiring nature of the exaggeration, but the guides are not catering to our personal selves generally. They will occasionally provide a dream for the personal self, with little to be gained in regards to our real awareness and the expansion into it, as the little personal self does like to let off steam after a hard week's slog. If you work in a job like me, sometimes a good dream, or being taken to a place to release all that weekly tension is required. Also, it's imperative to get the little self on board. It needs encouragement. for it cannot understand or appreciate the magnitude of the potential that real awareness and ultimately a position in the real universes will entail. The personal self likes its thrills and spills and chases them unceasingly, lest we get control of its wants and infatuations and focus it on the goal, the only reason we came into creation, to recognize our real intent, which is to leave creation and become one with the is. There is no sense trying to ignore the personal self. It's always there, moaning and nagging you, the real you, to chase that thrill over there, eat that taste overstimulating burger over here, and generally slob about and do very little for the benefit of anyone other than its little self. So, a few exciting escapades on the real side provided by the guides is just the medicine for a tetchy, moaning personal self, as we drag our created bodies through the process. A little like Peter, my father, who will, on occasion, have exhilarating flying dreams. Yes, it is to afford him a better view, a demonstration of getting above everything, but also it keeps the little self, the personal self, motivated, almost tricking it into coming along for the ride, like convincing a child to see the boring museum by offering a reward of an ice cream afterwards. Also, the over-exaggerated nature of a real side experience will more likely have us pay heed to it. It's less likely to be dismissed and forgotten. The movies with the greatest impact will stay in our minds. If it's a demonstration regarding a health aspect of our personal vehicle we are overlooking, as an example, why not have us attacked by giant pizzas, or somebody shooting at us with a cannon that utilizes donuts instead of cannonballs? Anyway, you might be thinking, am I ever going to get back to the original theme of this topic, the whole protection thing? You've probably forgotten what it is I said initially. I know I have. Ah, yes. Losing protection that the connection to our real awareness affords, should we sever the connection and return to our personal lives only, and the likelihood of attack from the dark forces more so, because we represent always a potential troublemaker. We may elect at some stage to reignite our awareness and cause trouble again. So, were I the Callum God, I would proclaim, take that troublemaker out now, before he or she changes their mind and reconnects to the real awareness and becomes harder to remove as a result. So, I had a real side experience, a very vivid one, and as I was saying, the vivid dreams are the ones that demand our attention, as our real selves take pains to ensure that we do. facilitating our recollection of them and seizing our focus as much as the little self will allow. I was, with all the new presentation, new friends, as far as I could tell, recognising the likes of Kelsey, Val, and so forth. We were all in what seemed to be a large broadcasting studio, monitors everywhere, every new friend transmitting their information and sharing globally the ears and the real guides. It surely was an impressive setup, and very gratifying to behold that such a grand operation was in effect, and the potential sharing of the ears would surely reach far and wide. But then something caused me grief, the nature of which I was uncertain of, but nevertheless I descended into a rage, and stormed from the operational centre, deciding to leave, to throw in the towel, to go my own way. Rather strange, as I certainly was not entertaining such a notion prior to sleep. As I stomped grumpily down the studio corridors, the whole world seemed to shift, waver, and fluctuate, a little unsteadying. The impression was that something had overlapped this scene, something that was far from good. A sense of foreboding engulfed me, and then these reptilian creatures came hurtling toward me. They seized me, a reptoid on each arm, and frog-marched, or lizard-marched, I suppose would be more apt, me along the corridor. They were taking me to a wall, but I knew, maybe in sight from my real self, it was no wall. The overlap had temporarily allowed two creational realities to exist in one space, and that wall was some kind of crossover point, like a portal, and evidently to where these reptilians had emerged from. I struggled, I strained, but was inexorably dragged to the wall, and dragged through the wall. It was like an invisible membrane to a world or dimension or life level beyond, and I was now in the reptilians' realm, so I would assume it to be the lower astral. The scene switched now. I was somewhere else, a far more elated impression, removed from the reptilian clutches and their forbidding astral level. I was with new friends again, and this time also Dwayne was there. I was very relieved, and I would speak with Dwayne for a time. The words escape me, but the impressions were there. The entire experience had been a demonstration of exactly what I had suggested would occur if one disconnected from their real awareness. Their ability to deal with situations diminished as a result, and the opportunity seized for the Callum's minions to kidnap the troublemaker. For would I have been in my state of awareness, I would have known how to deal with any situation on the real side, at least far better than I did here in this stream. With the real awareness connection severed, All I had was the far more limited captain of the ship that is my personal self, with the only reference of recourse that which it could access from memory, the mental vehicle. As a result, my personal little self simply struggled, but invariably this proved futile. My real self would have zapped them with fireballs, or clambered upon a flying griffin and escaped to safety. Then Dwayne, in the final scene, explained to me, through impressions, what the experience had been all about, and those impressions formed together on waking. So what was this demonstration all about? It wasn't a heads up, because I certainly wasn't intending to do anything other than proceed with my recognition of these and embracing of my real awareness. It was a question being answered. You can pose any question, and on the real side it will be answered or revealed. As you sing the New You song before bed, hold the question in your mind and watch your dream experiences, for the answer will be revealed in the days, weeks to come, in your dreams or even on the physical level, as life and the guides operate effectively on both. Usually I don't ask questions. I tend to let the real side experiences unfold as they may. Safe in the knowledge, the guide's life and my real self knows what is best for my awareness, and what I need to know, be shown or suggested as a next step. However, the personal self does have a tendency to latch onto ideas, certain aspects, notions and theories, even if we consciously don't realize it. Something may have been on our minds, reverberating around our mental vehicles, and if given enough focus, it will be more so. And even if we then dismiss these notions that have been bothering the little self, it's likely we will have an effect waiting for us somewhere down the road and around the corner. Incidentally, it was later on that the impression occurred to me that the reptilians in the experience were actually real universal guides. Often the guides will adopt roles and assume the forms of all manner of creatures and species for the purposes of providing the demonstrations and the sharings they wish to impress upon the individual. In my case, then, I entertained the notion of the dark forces coming for someone under the circumstances of returning to the personal self. Then I forgot all about it, but evidently the ears does see everything, and a week later I had this experience, which was a validation of what I had surmised. In effect, I'd asked the question, and it was answered. So sometimes when we request information, it's clear to see that it won't always be answered immediately, but answered it will. And if you let the personal little self run amok with its ideas and funny notions, some of them would make no logical sense either, as the personal created self can have its distortions its habitual, peculiar, irrational reactions to things that make no sense to the real self. But we have to deal with the personal self that we have created with all its quirks. But to continue to entertain certain created ideas and entertain habitual reactions will have us the constant effect of what we have caused in creation, regardless of what we set in motion with our thoughts and emotions, be they good, bad, or just plain quirky. We experience the effects of them, or, as in a mental vehicle case, the thoughts we play with. What puzzles or concerns us may well be revealed or unveiled on the real side, even if we were not intending to ask it as a question. Nevertheless, it was quite the experience, and I was most relieved when I realized it was just a demonstration to answer a request for information I had evidently made, then forgotten about. Roll on with the process of becoming more aware, and keep those pesky reptilians at bay. For if they generally attack us on the real side, and we are connected with our real awareness, and allow it to take command of the situation, it knows exactly what to do, and so those abducting reptilians best run for the hills as far as their scaled limbs can carry them.